for me was no different than any other, really. I got up at 5:30 and I fixed myself a cup of coffee, and I sat down in front of CNN to see what was going on in the world so that, I can know if something's going on that I need to talk about today. But it's one of the ways that I kind of prepare myself for Sunday morning. And this morning I had what I can only describe as mental whiplash over what I was seeing on the television. Because today is the 15th anniversary of the bombings on 9/11, and there were a great deal of portions of CNN stories that were recalling the attacks that day and the horrific loss. And I remember that day so clearly. And then the rest of the time they were talking mostly about the presidential race, which is quite different and evokes a very different emotion. And I found myself, and they didn't do a half an hour on 9/11 and a half an hour on the current political climate. They did 5 minutes here and 3 minutes there and 10 minutes here and 4 minutes there. And I found myself just ricocheting in my head over how I should be feeling. Should I be feeling sad and horrified? Maybe you think that should be the case for both. Maybe I should feel frustrated. I don't know how I feel. But you know how I felt? I felt joyful. I really had an overwhelming sense of joy, which may seem very incongruous to the content of the morning news hour this morning. And I tell you why. On September 11th, 2001, when I went home after a very long day, partly spent in praying with a parishioner of mine at the time who had a child in the World Trade Center who turned out to be fine. Many of you have very deep connections to the attacks here. I came home and I thought, nothing's ever going to be the same again. Nothing is ever going to be normal or just feel like it's just okay. And today I had this sense of joy because as I watched the news, I realized life has gone on. Life has even gotten less than normal in some ways. It's gotten a little more crazy in some cases. But I had a sense of relief that God has been with us in all of this, that we have been able to move forward and go about our lives. I literally thought that day, how can we ever go about our lives the same way again? And it turns out we still go to work and we still go to the grocery store and we still spend time with those we love. Maybe we hold on to them a little bit harder. But really, other than on 9/11, we don't really necessarily think about it every day of our life, as much as the TV would like to tell us what a terrible world we live in. I bring all this up because the word today in the gospel passage that just leaps out is rejoice. And not just rejoice with me. We have this passage from Jeremiah that's like, God calling people stupid children through Jeremiah, calling people stupid children. And then you have Paul's letter to Timothy, and it's, God has redeemed me. And you have that mental whiplash over kind of how are we? Are we redeemed or are we stupid children? And the gospel gives us the hint. Now, you may not realize this, but I, as in most of the people who read in church, think ahead of time about how to read it. And I realized that I've always read these parables somewhat solemnly, and tend to do that with the gospel. Jesus, the setting is that the scribes and Pharisees are just aghast that he would eat with tax collectors and sinners. Tax collectors and sinners being the worst of the worst that he should be eating with. And he tells this parable. He tells two, actually. Well, he tells three. The third one's not in here. It's not even going to be next week. It comes a different time, but we're going to talk about all three looking for the sheep, and he finds it, and what does he do? His co-host runs and goes, "Rejoice with me! I found my sheep." And I realized so many times I have read that in church. It's Jesus saying, "Rejoice with me, for I found my sheep." Just so I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 persons, righteous persons, who need no repentance. No! Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost. And so I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. Hopefully you noticed that's how I read it today. The woman who's looking for her lost coin is looking for it at night because she lights a lamp. You may think, oh, well, just wait until the morning. But she's determined to find that lost coin. And I saw a wonderful drawing this week of the woman peeking under a table as she sweeps under it with a broom looking for the coin. When she finds it, what does she do? She calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost." And Jesus says, that's what it's like in heaven. The third parable, anybody know what it is? You know the parable. It's the prodigal son. The lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. Now, interestingly enough, the sheep probably doesn't know it's lost. Probably. I have preached sermons that talk about how sheep are not the smartest animals, and I have preached sermons about how sheep get a bad rap. But frankly, the sheep is probably just looking for the best grass and not really paying much attention. The coin certainly has no idea it's lost. No clue. It's a coin. It's an inanimate object. The son knows he's lost. You know, he's gotten his father's inheritance ahead of time. He asks for it, and he goes and spends it in dissolute living. And then he comes to the conclusion that he has lost when he realizes that he would gladly eat the food he's feeding to the pigs that he's tending. And what happens when he comes back? The father rejoices and calls together all his friends. This is what heaven is like, Jesus is telling us. It's like God rejoicing over that which is lost being found. That doesn't mean that God's not joyful over the things that are already there. I mean, the shepherd still cares for the 99 sheep, and the woman's glad she has those 9 other coins. But even more so is that joy over the one that was lost being